Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's Claritysoft training webinar. Today is Tuesday, July 27th, 2021. I'm Susan Arnold, Implementation Specialist here at Claritysoft, and our topic for today is on action plans and workflow automation. Creating action plans and creating workflows that are triggered to cause something to happen in the database. So while we're doing the webinar today, I'm hoping that all of you will have thoughts going through your head on some ideas that you could incorporate into your database. The purpose of these is to add some automation to your database. The action plans help make it easier to put in a group of activities, that you aren't creating the same 5 activities over again for, say, a new customer or a new lead or wherever. And the workflow automations actually work off of a trigger inside of a module. You click in a field, you change it to a certain setting, and that triggers a workflow to either send an email, create an activity, or create and drop in an action plan. So it's ways to help your database work more smoothly with your team members. And as I said, hopefully you'll be thinking of different ways you can use this within your own database from the samples that I create. Again, as in most of these webinars, to be able to create action plans and workflow automations, you need to be an admin user in the database. So if you are not, then you can go back and grab your person and say, oh, I have some cool ideas, and let's think through what we would like to do. So we're going to walk through the process of creating, saving, and applying an action plan, and then we'll do the same thing with some workflow automations and give you some ideas on these as we go through. So let me go to my database. The first one I want to do is to create an action plan that we will apply to new leads. When a new lead record comes in, there are probably certain follow-up things that you would like to do. Send them an intro email, make an introductory call, send them a second email, whatever. But you basically, for every new lead that comes in, you follow the same steps. So if you were to get, even if you only got 5 or 6 new leads in a day, creating 4 to 5 activities for the same, for the 6 new leads can get tedious and time consuming. So an action plan makes it easier, where you create the action plan and you save the leads as a bundle, and then you simply apply the action plan when the new leads come in. So just to kind of repeat how new leads can come into your database, you can enter them manually. You can import a list of leads that you might get from a trade show, a conference, or purchase, or they can come in from your website, where you can connect a web form on your website to Claritysoft and have leads come in that way. And so then someone just needs to monitor those leads that come in and apply that action plan, during the day or by the end of the day for the new leads. So I have here a filter that I created for leads created today. And earlier today, I created 3 new leads. You can see the creation date is today. I created this filter as a review by going to advanced search, and then I went to the time filter tab. I selected creation date and this one day. Okay, that is the filter I created. And then when I search, course, it's already done. I get everything created today, and then you can click here on the search options and save that search with a name, that view. Okay, so that's just a quick review of that. So I already had one, and I'll go back to all my leads, which actually I already have the filter up here. And that filter you create and save becomes part of this list. Okay, so we have leads created today. So there are my new leads. Now what I need is an action plan to apply to them. So I go to settings, and in your settings, you will see action plans. And then on the right, you click add, and you give your action plan a name. Just say new leads follow up, and I'm just going to put today's date so it doesn't conflict with another one I've already created. Okay, so you give it a name, and then you can put a description in for what it is. That's optional. And here, this exclude weekends is when you're counting. One of the things you do with an action plan, and you say, well, I want you to do this first, and I want you to do it within the first 3 days of the lead being created. The second thing I want you to do, starting at 5 days out and completed within 8 days. And the third thing I want you to do is to start within 10 or 15 days out and complete it within 18 days. So that's what you do. So in your counting of days, do you want to exclude weekends, meaning you would just have 5-day weeks instead of 7-day weeks? It's entirely up to you, kind of more how you think. Sometimes you're thinking 7-day weeks and your time gets further out than you expected it to go on the dates, but you'll see how this works. Okay, enabled means it is an active action plan. And then I want to start adding my activities. So first of all, you put in your subject line. So I might call this initial okay. And then you select your activity type and you set a priority. Not necessarily that important here, but this is the important part. When do you want the activity to start and when do you want it to be completed? So I want this to start within 0 days of the action plan being applied and completed within 1 day, because we want to get back to those leads. As soon as they come in, it's important to get back to them. If you want to, you can set a reminder for this. In this situation, I don't necessarily recommend it, because if you suddenly get 25 leads today, that means the person is going to get 25 emails reminding them of this email that needs to be sent, and that could become quite annoying. Okay, so I don't recommend that. Select category. This is for the category that's in the activity module that not a whole lot of people use, so you don't need to put this in if you don't want to, okay? And then you save it. So we've got our first, oh, forgot this. The owner, this is an important one. The owner here is the person to whom this activity is being assigned. So it will show you a drop-down list of all of your users, which you can pick a specific user, or this is my recommendation, you set it to record owner. Then the activity in the action plan will be assigned to whomever is the owner of the lead record, okay? And that's usually what you want, is whomever is the owner of the record should be getting that activity. And then I'm going to save it. Okay, so that's my first activity. And I'm going to add another one. And this is going to be phone call. We'll make it a call. We will sign it to the record owner again. And this one, I want to start within 2 days of the action plan being applied, and completed within 4. Okay. And then save it. And then I'm going to add an activity. And this one is going to be and you can see your subject line can be anything that you need it or want it to be. And your activity type, you can create custom activity types so that you can put in specifically what you want people to do. Okay. And then this one I'm going to have start 7 days out and be completed within 10 or due within 10. So I have added 3 activities starting on the very first day that the action plan is assigned and extending out. So an action plan like this can be used for any type of follow-up. Another sequence might be that somebody needs to send out some sort of a form or a contract. In that case, that might be assigned to a specific user because that same person always does that activity. Then the second one might be assigned to somebody different that's a follow-up on that contract or that form when it's returned. So, you can span these things out knowing, allowing time to pass for something to be returned. And they don't have to be done exactly on that day. It's just giving you a target date. All right, so once I've added my activities, I click Save. And I now have my new action plan here. Okay. And I can add action plans and then they can be applied to leads, contacts, opportunities, and projects in the database. So you can create action plans for new customers. You can see I have a new customer one here. Might as well look at it really quickly, which does kind of a 1-week check-in, a 1-month check-in, a 6-month check-in, and you can see the days here. Okay. So start thinking. Once I've added my action plan, I do need to log out, as you do with most settings changes. And then when I come back in, I'm going to go to my leads module, run my filter again. And if you're the person who does this assignment every day and all you really do is apply this action plan to new leads, you can set this view as your default view. So when you go to leads, that's what you see. Okay. So what I want to do is apply this action plan to all 3 of these new leads. I'm going to select them all, go to actions, go to action plan. The record's marked as checked. And then I get to pick which action plan I want. So all the action plans that are enabled action plans will show up in your list and you can pick any one. So here's the one I just created. It puts the start date today. Okay. I can start this action plan whenever I want. For example, if I was doing this on Friday, I might not want to start the action plan until Monday because nobody's going to do it over the weekend. Okay. But this is fine to start today. All right. And then you can see it has calculated the dates for us. So the start date for the first one is today, which was 0, and it should be done by tomorrow. The next one is the 29th, should be completed by the 4th. And the next one is to start on the 5th and should be completed by the 19th of August. Click Save. And now the cool part is when I go here, whoops, and I look at open activities, boom, 3 activities right here. Okay, and I can sort by my start date the opposite way so I can see my 3 activities. I can go here. My 3 activities. So I just applied 9 activities in about 3 clicks after creating that action plan. So they are there and I'm good to go. Now they also are going to show up in the activities module for today's activities. Now I've got some 1-month check-ins here and things like that. So what else do I have in here? I should have today's activities for me. Okay, so, oh, you know what it is? Those aren't all activities assigned to me. That's why. Um, let's see here. Let me go back and look at the leads. So Jim Smith, Steve McCarthy, and Susan Morris. Now let me go back to activities. And if I look at Jim Smith, they should be here now. Now let me, these are really, really old. You can see. So there's 727. So here's the silhouette landscaping initial lead email. So he has all these activities. These are all old and should be cleaned out, but you can see that they are now in the activities. And if we looked at future activities, then we would see the ones coming up in the future. So let's see, what do we got here? There's the 729 for silhouette landscaping, and here is the 85. So these will show up each day in the person's to-do list. So that's an action plan. And like I said, you can create as many action plans as you need and set the steps and the activities, and you're good to go. And then apply them where they need to be done. For example, in accounts, if I wanted to find all my new customers, let's say I have a new customer that came in, I could look at perhaps the date or something to say that, you know, that was a new customer, or I could set up a workflow that would trigger me seeing a new customer, and then I could select them. And at the account level, I cannot choose an action plan, but I have to go to a contact. So how would I do that? So if I'm going to sort by the last touch date. So let's say these are 4 new customers that just came in. All right. So I'm going to do this, select them, and I go to view contacts, which will now take me to the contacts module, and I have the contacts for these new customers. Well, I see I have, what, 4 different ones for Odessa. Well, maybe this is the person I worked with. So I can just pick the people at these places that I worked with, go to action, action plan. I have a new customer, action plan, shows me my data with my follow-ups calculated. And again, if I change this date, let's say I change this date to next week. Notice how the dates recalculate. So your start date for your action plan can be any time. You could start an action plan a month out if you wanted to, okay? So you pick your start date, you click save, and all those activities are then applied to that new customer. So here we go, 6-month check-in, 1-month check-in. You have to deal with my messy demo data, okay? So here's something that's out all the way out to January, that 6-month check-in, okay? So there are the check-ins that just got dropped in. So hopefully that will give you some ideas on how to create, first of all, how to create an action plan and some ideas on what to create for your database. Okay, so workflows. Let's say in our company, when an opportunity is won, we want to notify the accounting department that they need to invoice this customer because the opportunity has been won. So we want to set up a notification that is triggered when we set the sales stage to 1. Okay. So when I come in here and I change this to 1, that should be the trigger to send an email to the accounting or billing department to create the invoice and send it. All right. That's what we want to do. So go to settings. We go to workflow automation. Now, when you're doing this, you actually have 2 things that need to be accomplished. You want to, if you're sending an email, then you need to create the template that gets sent first, okay? And so I'm going to add a new template, and I'm going to say one opportunity, send invoice. Okay. All right. The subject, I'm just going to copy this into here. This is the subject for the email. And then you select, well, which module is the module where the trigger for this is occurring? Well, I'm doing it from opportunities. Okay. And then I come down here and I type my email. Now, to save us time, I have created text. There we go. So I have text here that says, hello, billing. Or you can, if it's a specific person that's always going to be the same, you can have it to that specific person. We have won a new opportunity is ready to be invoiced. What I want to do here, because the billing person isn't going to know what opportunity it is, you can then insert fields. So I typed the account and then I click this button that says special fields and it brings up my fields. So this is the account name. And then I want the contact. And then I want the opportunity name. And I want the amount. Okay. Now notice in here, I'm going to come down here, that you have all of the fields that are available in the opportunity record, plus any custom fields. So if there's something in a custom field, like a note or something that your billing person needs to know, then you can pull that information in. So this is nice to be able to do that. And I want the owner here because the owner is going to be whoever's record it is, okay? So they know which salesperson is sending it to them. So you can pull in any fields that you want that are pertinent to the person in the billing department, okay? So once you've created this, you save it, and you now have that template, okay? Which is the one I just created right here. I have too many of these. And I now have my template created. Now I can go over to the left and create my workflow. And my workflow is the rule that I need to follow, or the system needs to follow. So I'm going to click add, and I'm going to call this new op 1. And I'm going to put the 0727 just so I know which one it is. Okay. And then again, your description can be the same or blank. The trigger is in opportunities. Okay. And now we have to set our rule criteria, our option, and the action to follow. So the rule criteria here is going to be that the stage, and I usually like to put contains instead of equal, just in case you don't type it exactly the right way. So you need to know which stage and how you've put your one stage in. It could be different wording. So that's my criteria, and you can have multiple levels, okay? So I could add another criteria here if I needed to. Then my option is, when should this trigger occur? Once, when a new record is created, which meets the rule criteria. Well, that's not going to happen because that opportunity has been there for a while. So it is not when it's created. Once, when a record is created or edited and did not previously meet the rule criteria. This is usually the one that you pick. This is once for all existing records which meet the rule criteria. Probably not going to do that. This is multiple, okay? This would be if you were setting different options for something and you wanted the trigger to occur multiple times according to those options, or it could go back and forth from one option to another. Most likely, this second one is the one you're going to do, okay? And there's a detailed description of all of these options in the knowledge base that you can look up for workflow, okay? So we've got our criteria, we've got our option, and now our action. So we add our action, and our action is 0 days after or before, okay, well, we want it after the last edit date. Because when we go into the opportunity and we change the stage to 1, that's going to update the last edit date to the current date. So 0 days after that last edit date, we want to send a notification. Then when we choose that, it gives us the option to pick, well, what template do you want to send? Okay, I think this is the one I picked. And then to whom are you sending it? To the contact person? No, you wouldn't send it to the contact person in the opportunity. To the owner is the one sending it. You're going to send it to a custom email. And then down here, you type in the email address of the person, okay? Then you have to be careful here because I've had this happen to people where they just merely go on their way and you didn't scroll down and save. So make sure you save the rule. All right. So I now have my new workflow rule set up. Again, I need to log out. And once you've done that initial log out and everybody else has, then it's in, it's going to stay in, stay active. So It's only one time you have to do it. So if I go to my opportunities and I open this opportunity here, I'm going to say, all right, I have won this opportunity. And I'm going to go down and click Save and Close, which will update this last edit date. Okay, I was in there earlier. So click Save and Close. And then I just forget about it because the billing department should receive an email. So we'll just wait and see when the email comes in to me here. So I'll kind of watch my email. And so we've got that trigger. So meanwhile, if I wanted to, I could take this, notice it went away because it's no longer active. Here's one this month. There's my one, okay? Now, depending on the process that you want to follow, you could have the salesperson, once they've set it to one, they also then could convert the opportunity to create a sale record, okay? Or you could let the accounting person come in to find the opportunity and then convert it. So it just kind of depends on what you want to do. I'm thinking maybe the logical thing would be the salesperson or the accounting person would come in and convert it to a sale. Then they could set a trigger in the sale record that notifies the salesperson that the company has paid and they should send a welcome, new customer welcome, or a thank you, depending on whether they're a brand new customer or not. Okay. So again, you want to think through these processes on how this can help you sort of automate a process or a flow within your database. So let me see here if I'm getting my email. Oh, there it is. So here's the email sent to me in the billing department. Okay. So there's my template. Hello, account is satellite installation, et cetera, et cetera. And the owner is Steve McCarthy. So that's how you can have that triggered. You do it, you forget about it because the workflow takes over and sends the email as needed to the proper person that you've entered into that workflow automation. You could also have an email template triggered to send to the contact person in the opportunity to send them an immediate thank you. You know, thank you for your business. We will, you know, you will hear from our billing department, whatever you want to do. So think through those types of triggers that you can do within the system. Another one that you can do is if a close date on an opportunity is past due, you could create a workflow to look at that. I think I have a sample of one of those where it could then send an email. Yeah, here's past due close date. That's the letter. So the following opportunity is past due, pulls in the information, okay? And the workflow is here, close date past due. I usually recommend naming the template and the workflow the same name so you know they match. So here what we're saying is past close date. I created, I believe, a calculated field is greater than or equal to 10. So this means it's 10 days past due. And again, this is multiple because maybe the person goes past due multiple times on their close date, which means they're just not paying attention and updating it. And the action is to send that template to the owner of the record. And then you could also have a custom email sent to the sales manager or somebody else to be notified as well. So that's another way that that could be used in the system as workflow types of processes. Okay, so think about some ideas. Another one that I wanted to talk about is, where is it? Oh no, it was in action plans. Let me go back to action plans for a minute. This event plan. I worked with a person a couple of years ago who does, she doesn't do the catering, but she does the setup for a venue where she hires well, she gets the venue, she hires the wait staff, she, does the setup and all of that. And she does it like 30 days in advance of the venue. And so we had to sit and think through an action plan for her that when she has an event, she can search for the events that are 30 days out or maybe 30 days out, that the date of the venue is, within the next 35 days or 30 days. So she could pull up that list and then apply this event plan. And it kind of goes backwards in that she wants to hire the caterer within the first 3 days. She wants to get the wait staff scheduled. She wants to get, the employment forms out, the venue setup is done, and then the actual venue or the setup or the final venue setup is done on the 30th day, the date of the venue. So you could do something like this if you do event types of planning or scheduling of certain things that you need to do in a sequence where you can create an action plan and drop that in. So it's another way to think about it. All right. So these are just some different ideas. And then if I go back, one more here, let's say we want to create another workflow, just real quick. I'm going to add a template. And where is my text? So this is customer paid, send. I'll say instead of welcome, say send thank you, probably is more appropriate. Okay. And then we'll do Control C, Control V. And this is going to trigger from the sales module. Okay. Okay, I don't know why I got that message, but anyway, oh, I see, because I changed the module after copying the text. No worries. Okay, so again, I've got my template here, and I would say, I'll say thank you email instead of welcome. And then I would put in, just like I did before, account name, contact, order number, so they can find it in the I never can remember which is the right one here. I'm going to put them. One is an underneath number and one is the order number in the record. I'll just stick them both in. Okay. And then thank you from billing. So I'll save that. So I have my template, and then my workflow process would be okay, and then again, this is coming from the sales module as the trigger. And here, what I want is status contains paid. Oops. Okay. And the option is going to be the same one again, because I only want this to occur one time. I don't want it to occur multiple times. And then it's going to be 0 days after the last edit date. Okay. And then it can be, you can add an activity if you want. See, if I do an activity, then I could put send thank you email. So I could do it that way. Just make it a task. Don't put any date in because you don't need it. It's to the assigned owner. All right. And then you would put in here, and then you have your insert fields here. So basically I'm doing in the activity what I just did in the email. So I could do it this way as well. Okay. Then I'll just put in order number. I'm going to stick both of these in because I never, like I said, whoops, I'll do this one. We'll do that one. So that's there. So I could have that as an activity. All right. I also can add a multiple one and say, 0 days after the last edit date, I could send a notification, and then I choose and send it to the owner. So you can have two things as a result of the trigger, just to make sure the person does it. Okay. And then again, if I log out, and that will be it. So we go to sales now. I'll just pick a random sale here. I'm going to edit this one to say the status is paid. Save and close. That will do my trigger. So hopefully this gives you some ideas if you haven't really looked at action plans or workflows. You can go explore it a bit. I know a lot of times people are asking questions during our implementation process. Can I do this? Can I do that? And a lot of times you can. So it's just a matter of sitting down, figuring it out. And they actually work really, really well. I know in our Claritysoft database, when our accounting person completes a sale, it triggers an email to be sent to the implementation team that we have a new customer ready for onboarding. We know who it is, and then the three of us decide who gets it, and we go from there. And so it's really nice. Also, we have some triggers to the tech support team for other things for the tech support team. So we have a lot of things going on in our database that we've set up. So you can get pretty creative. So if you look for, don't go to offline, go to standard activities, action plans, okay? And then you can read about action plans here, and there is a description, I do believe. Yeah, that shows you how to do it. And then if you go and look for workflow automation, that will give you a description, and it gives you a good description here of those different ones to select to fit. Sometimes you got to test them a bit to make sure they work, but they are there. And then just so you know, there is my customer page, send thank you right there, done. So perfect. All right, that's all I have for today. You actually get out early. Now, let me go back to my PowerPoint and go to the end here. And first of all, thank you for attending. We had a nice group today. And we're always happy when you come in, and hopefully you're learning different things. And if you need any help on this, if you're in Quick Start, then you can contact Linda or myself or Mike, who's our new person. And one of us, we will help you as you're doing your implementation. If you're not in Quick Start, then you certainly can call our tech support team at 888-838-7487, extension 2, or email them at support@claritysoft.com. I'm a person who likes to call and talk to real people, and you do get real people when you call them. So I'm usually call first, email second. And then if you have any ideas for future webinars, please let us know at info@claritysoft.com. Coming up on the fall season, probably want to start coming up with some new ideas for some webinars. So if you can send some of your thoughts our way, things you'd like to learn about that we haven't covered, then please let us know and we'll be happy to accommodate you. So go and have a wonderful rest of the day and rest of the week. And we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks for the next webinar.